interrupt, but you're hot.
This is my friend, by the way.
Come home with me. No, he's not. Come home with me.
Is it a way we watch Mad Men, but we are gonna have sex?
Really?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The man. Would you like to have sex?
In this video, I'm going to teach you 5 very easy and effective ways to approach a girl that you don't know. This happens probably every single week in your life, unless you live in your mother's basement and you never leave the house. There's a hot girl. And then there's this voice in your head. What would I say? What would I even do? Am I gonna use a cheesy pickup line? There's no cheesy pickup lines in this video. These are going to be 5 types of openers to conversations whenever you see that girl that you want to talk to that are proven to work. I have used each of these myself in my life to not only get a date with girls, but to bring women home, to hook up with women with each of these lines. All right, number 1 is the opinion opener. There's a very good chance you've never heard of this. It's an old school pickup technique that was developed like in the early 2000s. And the point of it is the opinion opener lets you come in under the radar.
Hi, I have a random question. Do I look gay? Yeah, do I look gay? Do I seem? It's okay if I do. Because I've had a few guys come up to me in the last couple hours and like, hey, and I thought, maybe I'm coming across that way. By the way, the top half of your face, very cute.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know about the bottom half. That's not bad, I mean, not bad either. What's your number?
So this is really useful if you see a group with guys in it, or if there's a group that looks like they don't want to be approached. If you're at a bar or club and there's a group that looks standoffish, they look like they're not going to be super receptive, then an opinion opener is a way to come in under the radar and to get a conversation started, to break the ice, and it can actually be useful in those situations. Now, what's a good example of an opinion opener? A very simple one that you can use is, do I look like a drug dealer? That might sound kind of weird. Why would you say that? Well, they're going to say yes, no, whatever. And then you say, okay, because I was curious. I've had several people tonight ask me for Coke. They're like coming up to me, hey, do you have any Coke? And I'm wondering what about me makes me seem like a drug dealer. And it's not anything super elaborate or magical, but it gets the people to start talking. It's not aggressive. It's not like over the top. It doesn't get the people to put their shields up, and then you can play off their responses. And then especially if there's a guy in the group, you can say, so how do you guys know each other? And then you find out, oh, this is my girlfriend. All right, well, unless you're trained for MMA, that's your time to get out. Or maybe they're just coworkers, they're friends, and then you can get the conversation started from there. But it lets you start it on a note where normally, especially if there's guys in a group, their defenses are up. They have a wall up. And if you're like, hey, you're hot, they're going to say, get the fuck out of here. They're not going to be open to that. But if you come in under the radar, that's going to generally be more effective. That's where an opinion opener is useful. Number 2 is a direct opener.
Hey, you're cute. You're cute.
Thank you.
Attractive. Bonita.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to watch an episode of Mad Men?
Now?
Yeah. You have about an hour. I'm like 50 feet away.
Is it a way we watch Mad Men, but we are gonna have sex?
And this is the one that I wish I knew when I turned 21 and I started going to the bars, I started going to the clubs. All I ever did was opinion openers. That's what was popular back in the day. That's what the books taught you to do. Unfortunately, I did not have high self-esteem. I was not confident in my ability to escalate with a girl, to make my intentions clear, to take her home, to be physical. Those kinds of things were very nerve-wracking. I was literally diagnosed with panic disorder and social anxiety. So this is something that came hard to me. And when I'm doing opinion openers, I'm like, hey, asking some question, it can be difficult to transition to a real pickup, right? To really flirting. It would turn into an interview. So if you're someone who has any level of resistance, it's not easy for you to just go up to a girl and be like, hey, you're hot. Like, just put it out there, right? Just make your intentions clear. Or if you're someone who ever gets friend zoned, right? There's a girl you like, but it's hard for you to make a move. Then learning to do a direct approach, practicing a direct approach is extremely useful, because what it will do is it will show you all these beliefs that society taught me, that if I tell a girl I like her, she's going to laugh in my face. I mean, that'll happen maybe 1 out of every few hundred times, but it's not going to happen a lot. That I'm going to get laughed at. I'm going to get shamed. Girls are not going to like it. It's going to turn them off, are going to be disproven. When you go up to a girl and say, here's the Andrew Tate opener, top G, this is the opener he talks about, I just want to say you're very beautiful. Shake the girl's hand. Yes, in some scenarios, girls will instantly reject you. They might say they have a boyfriend. If they're with a guy, the guy might be like, hey bro, that's my boyfriend, or that's my girlfriend. Those kinds of things will happen sometimes. You'll get instant rejections. But the cool thing about a direct opener is another 30, 40, 50, whatever. It depends how confident you are. It depends on a lot of factors. Some percentage of the time, the girls will light up. They'll be like, oh my God, thank you. And then you're in. Then it's very easy, now that you've already established this direct man-to-woman flirtatious frame, now it's very easy to not get stuck in an interview. It's going to be a lot easier. You have permission now in your own mind. You've given yourself permission to take her to the dance floor, to make a move. It's going to be a lot easier to do all those things to make it sexual because you've already established that. And it's not going to be like 30 minutes in, you're like, oh, should I make a move because maybe she'll like me, maybe she doesn't. She doesn't know I'm hitting on her, does she? Ah! All that shit is not going to be going through your mind. It's a lot easier when you go direct. The only problem with going direct is, like I said, if there's guys involved, if it's a very standoffish looking group, if it's the type of girl who looks like she really cares about her Instagram follow count, if she looks like she's been to Dubai and sucked some dick in Dubai from Instagram recently, then it's much less likely to work, right? Then the direct approach, they get it too much. It kind of, unless you're very, very charismatic, it's much harder to pull off. And if they look like the socialite type, then generally going more indirect is better. And I'll tell you later in the video the approach that I use most often with those types of girls. But just keep that in mind. And then there's a second issue, which is it takes confidence. It takes some balls to go up to a girl and tell her she's hot. We've been conditioned to not put our intentions out there, to not hit on girls. We're shamed when we find a girl hot. And so doing that can be very difficult. And that's why this next opener is useful. It's a way to get comfortable with complimenting women, with approaching strangers, but in a way that is not super direct, that doesn't put your ego on the line, that isn't putting your balls on the chopping block, right? That's putting you in a situation where you can get harshly rejected, where your ego is being put on the line. And that is to just open with a non-sexual compliment. So anything about their style, anything about perhaps the way they carry themselves, if they seem really confident, if they seem really at ease, if they seem graceful, any of those kinds of things. It could be how their outfit matches their eye color. If a specific compliment about a girl's fashion generally is going to be received well because it's something men almost never notice. They never pay attention to that. And girls put a lot of effort into their appearance. As guys, we can't even comprehend how much of a pain in the ass it is to get ready for an hour to go to a club. It takes me 5 minutes, right? Gel, boom, done. That's it. For a girl, it's a whole hour fiasco. And calling her hot, that's good. It makes your intentions very clear. But it's also good to give a compliment on her outfit, on her dress, on the way something matches, on her necklace, whatever. Things like that. Because they're thinking about all of this stuff a lot more than you are. And it's something other guys don't say very often. And the other benefit to this kind of opener is that it's easier to do if you're someone who's not approached a lot of girls. It is intimidating. It is for most men. Most men can't do it. But giving a compliment about her necklace or something is a lot less nerve-wracking than saying, hey, you're sexy. And so once you do that a few times, And a good way to start, if you have approach anxiety, a good way, just walk by a girl. Let's say you're at a bar, a mall, whatever. Just walk by a girl and say, hey, I just want to say I really like your dress. And then keep walking. You don't even keep the conversation going. It's a good way to show yourself, okay, it's not that big of a deal to talk to strangers. I thought I might get some weird reaction. I thought maybe, she'd call the cops and it'd be over for me. That's what we think if we've never done it, like deep down on some subconscious level. But none of that happens, and you realize, oh, she's just said thank you and lit up. Or maybe she just didn't notice or ignored me, but nothing bad happened. Do that a number of times, and then you'll get very comfortable with talking to strangers. And you can do this with guys too, right? You can compliment a guy's outfit too. I wouldn't necessarily keep the conversation going unless, if you're into that, that's fine. But as a way to just get comfortable with socializing, you're at a bar, just give people compliments. Walk around, give people compliments. Very few people are going to respond negatively. And then you get this momentum where it starts to feel normal to be that outgoing guy. You start to feel like, I thought I was this shy introvert, but I'm getting good responses by being outgoing. So maybe I'm that outgoing guy. You have an identity shift as your emotions change. And then it becomes very easy to start approaching girls, to do those direct approaches I was talking about earlier, to start making your intentions clear. So this one, number 4, is actually the best opener. This is the opener that's going to have the highest success rate. It's the smoothest. It's not invasive. It's a very natural way to start a conversation. This is the one I personally use the most, but there is a caveat I'll talk about later, a reason why most guys don't use this. And this is a situational opener. So this means that there's something happening wherever you are. You're in a bar. Let's say a fight breaks out, and you see a fight break out. Now, there's going to be other girls around, other people watching. And then after the fight breaks out, you can approach a girl and talk about the fight. That is an example of a situational opener. Maybe she does something that reminds you of a specific character from a movie. She reminds you of someone very specific. You can comment on anything that's happened in the venue, in the environment. Anything that's happened, anything about her that makes you think of something else.
I just want to say I saw your Irish dance moves. They're very nice. You brought in the spirit of the leprechaun.
Anything situational that's interesting that's happening. Now, this is the smoothest opener, and it's the one I do the most. The problem is, it requires wit. And I don't mean like you have to be a naturally witty person. I mean, you have to be out of your head. You have to be in a very social flow state to do this. Because you can't have a scripted, you can't be like, you remind me of Penelope Cruz in that one movie to every girl, because they're going to think, what the fuck? Or one I did once, which worked surprisingly well, was, you remind me of Amy Schumer, but if she was hot. That just came to my mind. I don't think that's necessarily the best opener, but it was just so congruent, it was so natural that she started cackling up and it went very well. Or here's another one that just came to my head. I just went up to the hottest girl in the bar by far and I was like, you're hideous. You're fucking hideous. She loved it. Immediately, a great open. Not because, and by the way, never do that in a girl that isn't clearly extremely hot or you might get slapped. But that opener just came off the top of my head. It was something that was not planned. It was completely organic. And that is going to generally be the most effective opener. So anything that you didn't have to think of it in advance, that's going to be the best opener. It's just whatever came to the top of your head. Now, how do you get to a point where you can use those openers? Because realistically, if you don't have anything in your head and you're kind of nervous, you're shy, you don't approach girls a lot, and you're like, I don't know what to say. And then you're going to block yourself. Then you're not going to have anything to say. And then you're going to make excuses. That's why you need to have these other openers in your back pocket as a backup plan. And then when you do those enough times, you'll get into social momentum. You'll get into a flow state. And then you won't need those openers anymore. And those are going to be the smoothest approaches. And those work on any situation, on any girl. It works on the socialites. It works on the girls who look bitchy. It works on the girls with guys. It works on every situation. It's the best opener. But to get there, you have to get into a flow state. If you really want to learn more about how to get into that social flow state, it's sometimes known as God mode. It's where you just stop overthinking. That little negative voice in your head shuts off, and you're able to just talk and talk and talk. You're able to be very charismatic, very witty. You're at your best. You're able to do things, and you're like, how the fuck did I do that? You're like, was that even me? It's like watching yourself, like watching a movie version of yourself. You're like, that's cool, but kind of weird. Wasn't expecting that. I do teach exactly how to get into that state, a step-by-step guide in my online course, God Mode, which I've decided to include in my new online course, The Spark. Because I've not been selling God Mode for a long time. It's not been available. But I've decided to add that method into The Spark. So if you want to learn how to get social momentum going, how to get into a state where you're able to constantly think of witty things to say, then you can get that by clicking the link below. But with that said, what is the last opener? This is the most unique one. It's the most interesting one. And it's one you would think would never work in a million years. It's known as the Apocalypse Opener. And the Apocalypse Opener is going up to a woman and saying, hey, you're stunning. You're very beautiful. Who are you? And then blah, blah, blah. You know, I know this is kind of forward, but do you want to get out of here? Or would you like to have sex? Either way you want to put it. Just straight for the close. Just open, compliment, let's get out of here.
Don't mean to interrupt, but you're hot.
This is my friend, by the way.
Come home with me. No, he's not. Come home with me. And, you know, he can join too. You can be the three of us. All of us.
Oh my fucking God.
We won't know who the father is, and that's the whole fun of it. Hi. How's it going?
Good.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Nice. Would you like to have sex? I'm pretty good at it.
Take my number.
Sure.
What's interesting about this is I thought that would never work in a million years. It's cringe. It is cringe. You are going to get... I don't recommend doing it, but as a social experiment, I did this. It was about 21, 22 times. Most of the girls were like, no, like, what? And they'd look at each other like, why are you talking to us? You know, most of the responses are bad. One girl, she said, I'd have to get to know you better. This was the 21st, 22nd one. I'd have to get to know you better. And then we talked for an hour, and then I went home with her by using the Apocalypse Opener. Now, is that a good opener? No. But it teaches a very important point. If you did that, you went out tonight, and you approached 50 women and just said, you're hot, want to get out of here. There's a very good chance at least one would say yes. Or at least one would say maybe. And then you know that, okay, if I keep talking, there's a good chance I can make this happen. Just from that. And the reason I bring this up is not because that's an opener I'm going to encourage you to use. I don't. But it shows you that if you lead, if you have the Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, always be closing mentality, you're going to have success. Even if you're saying something that's very cringy, that's not a good opener. Even if your strategy is flawed, if you take enough shots, you will have successes. And the number one reason people watching a video like this struggle to have the dating life they want, they don't have enough options, is they're not taking enough shots. They're not putting themselves out there enough. Maybe they do approach girls, but how often when you go out to a club did you at least invite one of them to go back to your place? How often? I know for most people watching this, the answer is it's been months or never. That is the core reason a lot of guys are not getting results. And I want you to pay attention to that. That's very important because being smooth, being charismatic, all that stuff is great. But some girls are going to be receptive. You're going to be their type. Some girls are going to like the skinny guy who looks like a meth dealer. Some girls are going to like whatever archetype. Some girls are going to like you. Or they're just going to be horny. Whatever. They're like, I just want to fuck anyone. Some girls are going to be receptive to you if you go for it. And you'd be very surprised the potential that's out there if you're willing to just try. if you're willing to genuinely try. Very few guys do this, but that is the key difference between success and failure. Having these different openers that I've talked about throughout this video, very useful. But it's how often you use them and how often you do something with them that really matters. It's very easy to watch a video like this, think that's cool, next time I'm at the grocery store, and then nothing ever fucking happens. That's gonna be 98% of people watching this video. Oh, that was cool. Never fucking use it. The excuses come through your head. With that said, the easiest way to make the transition from being someone who watches a video about pickup and someone who actually takes action in the real world is to have a specific plan, to have a step-by-step plan. Just like I've started working with a personal trainer recently, I have a specific plan for losing weight. I'm going to the gym every day. I've changed my diet. Specific plan. If I didn't do that, nothing would change. You have to have a specific plan in dating as well. It's not romantic, but it is what works. Every girl is getting tons of options every month. They're getting tons of leads in their funnel, if you will, right? Instagram, Tinder, Bumble, they go out, 30 guys approach them. They have tons of options, so they don't need a plan. For women, the Disney narrative works. For men, there's no leads coming into the funnel unless you're a male model and you have an amazing Tinder profile. That's not happening. So to have those options, to have a dating life where you have some choice, where you have some power, where you have some control, you have to have a plan. It doesn't work for men the way it works for women. There's a reason that 30% of men between the ages of 18 and 30 in the US did not have sex a single time in the last year. Think about that. And keep in mind, that's including those who have girlfriends. So those ones all are having sex. So if you take them out of it, it's probably more about 50% of single men did not have sex in the last year. There's an epidemic of male loneliness. There's a reason, I brought up Andrew Tate, there's a reason he resonated. People like Jordan Peterson, people like that resonate on such a deep level is because so many men relate to it, but they don't know what to do. And yes, improving yourself is a big part of it. Jordan Peterson's message, Andrew Tate's message, making more money, getting in better shape. But having the courage to go out and meet women and put yourself out there is also a necessary part of the equation. So you need to have a plan. You can come up with your own plan. You can say, I'll approach 10 girls, whatever. You can do that. But if you want one that is proven to work, that is a step-by-step plan for approaching women, improving your online dating profile so that you get 10, 20, or more matches per week, then that's something I've included in my online course, The Spark. A specific step-by-step game plan for getting over approach anxiety, for having multiple options for dates every single week. If you want a step-by-step plan for getting a lot more matches online, for getting a lot more leads, a lot more opportunities for dates in real life, then click the link below to get your copy of The Spark. But with that said, if you enjoyed this video, if you liked the fact that I gave you real practical advice, that I didn't just tell you what you want to hear, tell you that if you get the right cologne, get the Tiege Hanley, girls are gonna come to you. It's gonna be magic. I didn't tell you that bullshit that the most popular dating coaches tell you that makes you feel good, that soothes your ego. If you enjoyed getting some real hard-hitting practical advice that maybe isn't what you wanted to hear, but is genuinely useful if you put it into action, then make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button. I don't just talk the talk, I also walk the walk. I'm one of very few coaches who actually shows hidden camera infield of himself approaching women and bringing them home. On The Spark, for example, I have a clip of myself approaching a fitness model and bringing her home, and I show the entire thing. Not everyone does that. Most coaches don't have any infield, and some of the ones that do, it is trash. It's like a 10-second number, and that's the best they could do. Hi, what's your number? You know, that's about it. Do you know a good place to get coffee? Yeah, Starbucks. Do they have lattes? Yeah, they have lattes. Cool. What's your number? Sorry, I have a boyfriend. That's the average infield on YouTube. Mine is a little bit more in-depth than that. I'll link in the card, wherever that goes, I'll link in a card one of my recent ones that has a lot of insights that are very useful. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to go deeper and get a specific action plan, then make sure to get a copy of The Spark.